So our child comes to us, our 13-year-old comes to us and says, "Hey Mom, I saw the president on TV. He said that COVID is going away. Why is it that I can't go to school? Is the president lying?" So let's just say we're a fan of the president. How do we respond to this? After all, we've always taught our kid not to lie. Then our thoughts are interrupted because our child says, "Does this mean I don't have to wear a mask anymore?" Well, now we're dealing with our child's safety. So our child is confused. They can't go to school normally. They can't resume their sports activities. Whenever they get together with friends, everybody's wearing masks. What the heck is going on? And whether you believe the president tells untruths or not, one thing about kids we know, and that is they're very good at spotting lies. They realize that what they've seen on TV doesn't match their reality. So if we are a fan of the president, this does present some challenges to us. How do we explain this away? In this video, I'm going to give you three solutions to answer this question. Here's a spoiler alert. The first two are bad solutions, and they're solutions that some parents will use. And there's really sort of a bonus benefit in doing this third solution, which I will reveal at the end. So let's just dive right into this. So when our kids are really young, like 3 or 4 years old, we teach them what a lie is. We teach them not to lie. We do this because it's important for the family. You can't really have a successful family if family members are lying to each other. So our kid is saying that the president has told a lie about the virus. Well, one thing I've learned from kids is that sometimes they see things that we don't, and they're worth listening to. And you also know that kids have this sort of hypersensitive built-in lie detection system. They are so sensitive to lies. They'll say things like, "Dad, he's lying to you," or "I can't believe my best friend lied to me," or "Mom, she's not telling the truth." They're very tuned in to lies. So if our child comes to us with something about the president, maybe we should look a little bit deeper. Let's find out. Where do you see this? Was it on TV, social media? Do you hear from somebody? Let's find out what's going on. So in this particular case, it's been pretty clear. Our child has seen on TV over and over again that the president is saying that this virus is just kind of going away. Our kid is confused. Why can't I go back to school? Why is it that I can't get together with my friends unless I'm wearing a mask and have to stay 6 feet apart? Why is it that all my sports activities are canceled? What's the truth? So here are the first two solutions. Solution number one, maybe we can just ignore it. Maybe we can say something like, "Oh, well, the president says crazy things sometimes," or "I don't really pay much attention to it." Just see if it goes away. Sweep it under the carpet. Now, if we just ignore it in this fashion, basically what we're saying to our child is we're teaching them something. They're saying that what I've told you for all these years about telling the truth and not lying, well, sometimes people will just let you get away with it. I'm going to let the president get away with it. You could just ignore it. Sometimes people will do that. Well, for some kids, this can be a little bit of a light bulb going off. Maybe I can do this someday. I'll store this away for future use. Maybe at some point, give an example, your child gets into some mischief at school. Teacher comes to them and they decide, "Hey, maybe I can tell a lie here," and the teacher will ignore it. But one thing about teachers that we know is that just like kids, they also have a built-in hypersensitive lie detection system. How many teachers do you know are going to let a kid get away with a lie? Not too many. It's going to lead into all sorts of problems. So clearly, the ignoring it strategy is not a good one. And we are undermining what we've been teaching our kid for years. And that's not something that we want to do. I almost forgot. There is another type of lie that the president does engage in that can be a bit dangerous for kids. And that is he promotes conspiracy theories. Now, conspiracy theories aren't theories at all. They're stories. They're stories made up of lies with the intention to influence the way someone is thinking. Even when our kids are teenagers, their minds are like sponges. They absorb this stuff, and once it gets absorbed, it can be especially difficult to unabsorb and talk them out of it. This is such an important topic that I did a separate video on it called Kids and Conspiracy Theories, which you can find up here and automatically plays at the end of this video. If you have kids that access the internet or who will one day access the internet, I do recommend that you check out this video. Now here's a second solution, and as I said before, it's not a good solution. Let's say we're a parent that really likes the president. For example, we don't want to say that the president is telling an untruth. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a little bit of an exception. We're going to say, well, you know, he is the president. Sometimes he might bend the truth a little bit. Politicians do that. He's very rich. He's very famous. Whatever. Now we know we're kind of making an exception to what we've been teaching our child for years. Tell the truth. And it sounds kind of lame right out of the gate. If we take this approach, what are we really teaching our kids? We're teaching our kids in this case that what we said before for years and years and years really wasn't true. It really wasn't valid. We can make an exception to that. We're undermining, again, what we've been teaching our children. We're being inconsistent, and kids are really, really good at picking up these sorts of inconsistencies. Now, for some kids, this, again, can be one of those sort of light bulb kind of goes off moments. Aha, maybe I can store this away for later use. And here's an example of how this might be stored away and used at some later time, and this story is probably not going to be that unfamiliar to those of us who are parents of teenagers, or maybe who were teenagers at one time. And that is, you hear about a party. It's for your son's best friend. Big party, Friday night. Parents were gone out of town. Alcohol was involved. Maybe the police were called, but your son was not there, you don't think. So you ask him, were you at Daniel's house on Friday night? Your son was at Daniel's house, but he doesn't want to tell you. So he comes up with some story, and that is something like, oh, well, I was actually at the library on Friday night doing extra credit for my English literature class. And you know, if kids can get away with this and they try it, and it does work, again, they kind of store that up and think, maybe I can use this again to get out of some sort of trouble or potential trouble. And that's certainly not something that we want as parents. We don't want our kids lying to us, obviously. So what is the solution? I think we already know, and that is we make no exceptions. It doesn't matter how famous the person is, how successful they are, how much money they have, even if it is a president. We make no exceptions to what we have been teaching our children. If we try to ignore it or make an exception, and we try to just kind of fudge it a little bit, we're basically undermining what we've been teaching our kids all these years. We're undermining our moral authority. And as kids get older, it's important that we retain that. Now, I told you earlier, there's kind of a super benefit for sticking and being consistent to what we've taught them. And that is, our kids will see and they'll know, hey, this is a person that you really admire. And if you are not making a compromise based on that person and based on the feelings that you have towards whoever they are, they realize how important your convictions are, how important your moral authority is, and they will respect this even more. What we are doing is elevating truth-telling to a higher level than whoever this figure might be. Truth-telling is really the high value, not how we feel about the person or how much we admire them or like them or how rich they are. That is a high value. And one thing I will add, and I have said this before, and that is when we set high moral values for our kids, high moral values, they tend to rise towards them. If we set lower moral values, our kids will tend to fall to those lower moral values. And let's face it, there's enough in society right now that's trying to pull our kids down to those lower moral values. We don't need any more. We need to be consistent as parents. That's our role. So I hope you found this video to be useful. And the video that immediately follows is the one I mentioned earlier on conspiracy theories. It's a good one, especially if you have kids that access the internet. A lot of useful information here. Thanks for watching, and as I always say, I hope to see you on the next one.